I'm making this video today in response to a question on one of my videos from a guy named Chris. I thought it was a great question, so thank you, Chris, for asking it. The question really has two parts, and it's about past life regressions. And the first part is, how do I know that I'm not just making it up? How do I know that I'm not just using my imagination to create this past life experience that I'm going inside for? And then the second part is, do I see things in a vivid way in my mind's eye, or do I see them in kind of a vague and fuzzy way? So let's take the first part of that. Am I just making it up? Is this all a product of my imagination? The first thing that I would say is we're living in a culture that, in my opinion, is actively hostile towards imagination. And we have these sayings in the culture that prove this to me. One is, it's all in your head. The second one is, it's only a dream. And the third one is, it's just your imagination. And I would say at the same point, the things that we worship about this culture are technology. You know, from the house you live in, to the car you drive, to the airplane you fly on, to the camera that's recording this video, are all products of people's imagination. You know, they didn't design these things with their sense of smell or their sense of hearing. They saw it in their mind's eye, or they somehow were inspired in a non-physical way to draw these things onto the physical plane. So I would say, especially if you compare us to animals, our eyesight with eagles, and our hearing with dolphins, and our smell with dogs, and our physical strength with a rhinoceros, that our most powerful attribute is imagination. And I would define imagination as anything that you cannot access with one of those five senses. So far from running away from imagination and those concepts, I think we should be running toward them. Secondly, if you go to a movie, if you go to a staged play, and you sit in the audience and you think, that's just a two-dimensional image, that's just a movie, or those are actors up on the stage and they're all wearing makeup and they've got on costumes and those are props and those are sets, you'll ruin the experience for yourself. And I think we all know that when you allow yourself, through something called the suspension of disbelief, to let go into the experience, that sometimes it sweeps you away like a wave. And you feel these incredible emotions, and maybe you even learn something. None of which would be possible unless you allowed yourself to have that experience. And I would say it's the same for past life regression. Everything's happening internally, it's not happening on the outside. And it's really important to allow it to occur and not to judge it while it's happening. That all can happen later, just like after a movie over coffee with your friends, you judge the movie. But while it's happening, while the regression is happening, allow it to happen. And in the end, you're the only one who can decide what it really means to you. The only one who can decide how it fits or doesn't fit into your definition of what reality is. And the other thing I would say to the second point, which is, do I see things in a vivid way or do I see things in a vague way? I would say it really depends. It depends on the person. It depends on the time they're doing it. There have been times when I've seen things in an incredible, vivid way. But most often, I would say, I see things in a more vague way. Like I might see a person's hat, or I might see an object, or I might see one person but everyone else is kind of fuzzed out. But for me, I can hear things. And what I mean by that is I can hear things with my inner ear. And part of this could be that different human beings process information differently. Some people are primarily visual. Some people are primarily auditory, and others are primarily kinesthetic. But again, if you allow this to happen, and you don't judge how you're seeing something or how you're hearing it or how you're feeling it, but rather you just accept what's coming, you'll be way more successful at this. And if you suspend all that disbelief and wait until it's over to judge it, I think you'll be right on track. So thanks again to Chris for asking that question. And keep those questions coming. Thanks. I thought it was a great question, so thank you very much, Chris, for that. And the question really has two parts. The question. The question.